Time for Tartarian Tales 18, where our buddy Pinto takes us all the way to the Elusive Isle of Gold. Another excellent adventure which paves the way for some more chapters to come, because this sequence of events is pretty interesting and it's got a couple different things that you'll see in the coming tales that are pretty nice. And with this one, I also wanted to just, at the end, I will take a little gander at Google Earth and see if we can find anything that could resemble the Isle of Gold from the description that he gives in this place. And so many things have just been covered, overgrown. Again, we don't know how much time has elapsed between this, but the gold is one of the things that was present. It seems to be very present all over this earth during this time, everywhere. So someone's got to have these stashed, or they're buried somewhere. But I think they've got them stashed, guaranteed. The ones we never get to see, that don't show up in any museum. Someone's got them. But here you go, Elusive Isle of Gold. After my hasty departure from the Perilous River on a Saturday close to sundown, I proceeded on my course until Tuesday at noon, when, as God willed, I reached the island of Pulo Sambilang, the first landfall on the coast of Malaya, where I found 3 Portuguese naios, 2 of them inbound from Bengal and the other from Pegu. The captain and owner of the ship from Pegu was a certain Tristão de Gá, a former tutor to Viceroy Dom Francisco de Almeida's son, Dom Lourenço, who was killed in the harbor of Chao by Emir Hussein in a battle that has been described at great length in the chronicles dealing with the discovery of India. This Tristão de Gá readily supplied me with many things I was short of, such as cables, sailors, 2 soldiers, and a pilot, and he and the other 2 naos escorted me safely all the way to the port of Malacca. The moment I landed, I went straight to the fortress to see the captain and informed him about everything that had happened on the voyage. I gave him a detailed report on the exploration of the hitherto uncharted rivers, ports, and bays I had entered along both the ocean and inland sea coasts of the island of Sumatra, including a description of the trading practices among the inhabitants, who up until that time had never had any commercial relations with us. I had mapped and taken soundings of all the ports and rivers along the entire coast, carefully recording this information with the respective place name and degree of latitude, in keeping with his instructions. I also brought back information about the bay in which Rosado, the captain of the French Nao, was shipwrecked. He was a fellow officer of Brigas, captain of the other Nao, that in the year 1529, or I-529, was driven by bad weather into the harbor of Dayu, where Sultan Bahadur, king of Cambay, who was still alive at the time, took all 82 Frenchmen into custody and forced them to convert to Islam, making use of these renegades later on as artillerymen in his war against the Mughal king in 1533, I-533, where every single one of them lost their lives. And I also informed him about the anchorage in the bay of Pulo Butum, where the Nao Biscay, said to have belonged to Magellan, it once entered, but which was shipwrecked later on in the mouth of the Sunda Straits while crossing over to the island of Java. I also gave him a description of the many different nations that live along the ocean coast in the Lampong River, from where the gold of Minakbakau is shipped to the kingdom of Kampar via the Jambi and Brotio rivers. The inhabitants of this region tell of reading in their chronicles that the Queen of Sheba once had a trading post there which supplied her, presumably, as some claim, through the intermediary of an agent of hers by the name of Nausim, with a large quantity of gold, which she contributed to the Temple of Jerusalem when she visited King Solomon, by whom she is said to have begotten a son who later became Emperor of Ethiopia, commonly known here in Europe as Prester John, a lineage of which the Abyssinian nation is extremely proud. I informed him also about the seed pearl fishery located between Pulo Ticos and Pulo Kanim, from where the Batak used to ship these pearls in former days to Pasay and Pedir, trading them with the Turks of the Mecca Straits and the Naos of Jeddah for other merchandise they brought from Cairo in the ports of Arabia Felix. And in addition, I told him many other things I had learned from the Batak king and from my contacts with the merchants of Penaju, and I also gave him, in writing, the information he had particularly requested in his instructions to me about the Isle of Gold, which they all say lies on the ocean side of the Kalendor River, at 5 degrees south, surrounded by numerous reefs and swift currents, at a distance of about 160 leagues from the northern tip of the island of Sumatra. Convinced of the accuracy of this information, not only from what I told him, but also from what the Batak wrote in the letter I delivered to him, Pero de Faria forwarded all of it that year to King John III, of glorious memory. As a result, the following year, the king granted the captaincy of an expedition to discover this island to a knight of the royal household, Francisco de Almeida, a man of many parts and one quite equal to the task, who had been asking for it for a long time in compensation for the many services he had performed in the islands of Banda, the Moluccas, Ternate, and Jailolo. However, on his way there from India, this Francisco de Almeida died of a fever on the Nicobar Islands. Once the news of his death was confirmed, His Highness granted the captaincy the second time to a Diogo Cabral, a native of the island of Madeira, who later was punished by being removed from his command by Martim Afonso de Sousa, because he was said to have insulted him during his term as governor, and gave it instead to a Geronimo de Figueiredo, a nobleman in the service of the Duke of Braganza, who departed from Goa in 1542 with a company of 80 soldiers and sailors and 2 foices in a caravel. But this voyage came to naught because it seems, from what they learned later, that he wanted to get rich quicker than was to be expected from keeping to his course, and instead he crossed over to the coast of Tenasserim, where he seized some vessels arriving from the Straits of Mecca, from Aden, El Qusayr, Jeddah, and other ports of the Persian Gulf. And because he did not get along well with the soldiers there, and did not share the booty with them, as they had every right to expect, they mutinied against him, and after many other things that happened, which are better left unsaid, they tied him hand and foot and put him ashore in the port of Gali, on the island of Ceylon. Then they delivered the 2 foices in the caravel to Governor Dom João de Castro, who pardoned them when they agreed to join the armada he was preparing to take to the defense of Dom João de Mascarenhas in the fortress of Dayu, then under siege by the captains of the king of Cambay. And from that time on, no effort has been made to discover this island, which it seems will be very beneficial for the general welfare of this empire, if our Lord should someday see fit to let this island be discovered. So, let's see if we can find this island. I don't think we will actually be able to, because the world looks a lot different now than it did back then, but let's give it a shot either way with the clues. So he says, gave instructions to him about the Isle of Gold, which they say all lies on the ocean side of the Calendor River at 5 degrees south, surrounded by numerous reefs and swift current at a distance of 160 leagues off the north of Sumatra. So, assuming this is the north, the way it is now, we'll check this out. This spot right here, 160 leagues, is about 460 miles around. He just estimated it, so I did kind of anywhere between 400, 350, and 600 miles. So I found these islands up here to the north of Sumatra, which are a potential chance because, I mean, there are a lot of islands there, and you can check any of those other ones around, but obviously everything's been covered with land, with redone, and if there's gold that existed in this realm, it's no longer here. It's in some rich person's vault somewhere. So all that gold, wherever it was, whichever island it was, is somewhere. Solomon's Temple, who knows? It's somewhere. But either way, imagine if we could look at Google Earth from the time of Pinto's adventures and look at places and see what places look like with fully painted structures, buildings that weren't destroyed so much. But yeah, look at all those islands. They all look just like tropical magic. Sumatra, Indonesia is a magnificent place. So now, since they reverse a lot of things, let's take a look and pretend that the south, what we know as south, is north. So reversal. Then you get these 2 possibilities. 160 leagues off the coast, there's that river down there, which could be the Calderor or whatever river they were talking about. But you come across these kind of places in a distance that matches about the 160 leagues or so estimation. See the Flying Fish Cove over here, which is pretty intense. You never know, there could be stuff under all of that. A lot of these places have caves too along the shores, so do these things go deep? Are there underground things here? Are there underground tunnels and systems connecting land everywhere? who knows? There could be paths leading underneath, and at one point maybe this was just underground systems underwater all over the place. There could be tons underneath the bottom of the ocean. Could be infinite civilizations. Who knows? There could be more water, more land. Who knows? There's a way. This place I thought was pretty cool. Coco's Keeling Islands. Another potential spot. Maybe this place got sunk. Maybe it got blown up, and now that's what's left. Maybe there's all kind of land around it in the dark spots, and the cove in the middle, like sunk in or disappeared or was dug out, was mined, was gutted. Who knows? But there are a lot of different islands in the area where the Isle of Gold is elusively supposed to be, so we probably will never know where it actually is and what happened to it unless we raid the Smithsonian, but who knows? Either way, it's fun to envision these worlds and what an Isle of Gold from this time might look like. Who knows? And whether it's north or south, the reversal, the backwards things that they teach us all while they know the truth are just infinite. So it's anybody's guess where the elusive Isle of Gold is. But I hope you all enjoyed this search. Maybe we'll quest for these again. Yeah, it just shows the distance between those two places. Be around 450 to 600 miles, so who knows? Bless you all.